All right, so let's kick things off. Welcome everyone to the Dynavision Planning and Dispatch webinar. Um, just so you know, this webinar will be recorded and everyone will receive the recording afterwards. So no worries if you have to leave early. We'll make sure you get the recording. Um, Today, we will be discussing the Planning and Dispatch app. It's one of our solutions that has loads and loads of functionality. So I am going to keep my introduction very short this time. So Ben can focus on the demo. So my name is Jens Kolvenaar. I am a partner manager at Dynavision, where I'm responsible for sales, marketing, and partner management. And today I am accompanied by the one and only Bent.
Hello, welcome. So I'm Bernd and I'm the product owner who will be demonstrating the planning and dispatch.
You're all in good hands today. If you would have any questions, you can pose them in the Q&A section of the chat. We probably won't be able to answer them today, but we will get back to you later via email or during a call. Now, normally we would kick things off with a short story about Dynavision, but I am going to refer to you to our website today as we are going to focus on the demo. And honestly, that's it for me. I'm going to give the word to Bent, who is going to show you guys the Planning and Dispatch app. Enjoy.
Thank you, Jens. So today we will see the planning and dispatch in demo, but before I want to switch to Business Central, I just want to give a small introduction. So first of all, the apps will be installed in a sandbox for demonstration. I will not go into detail about installation and activation of the apps. I just want to refer to our YouTube channel where we have some videos on some functionalities, and one of these videos is about the installation and activation of apps in the sandbox or in the production environment. So you can go there and check it out. As a general overview, what will we see in a moment? So I will give a short high-level overview of the app planning and dispatch. I created a case based on what we know from the beverage wholesale market. It's mainly B2B customers. And I will show you three main parts of the app where we have added functionality in the sales processing, so sales order processing in the back office, some enhancements on the warehouse process, mainly on the warehouse shipping and receiving, and then also what we added for delivery functionalities. So I will handle that in a moment. Just as a short introduction for the sales enhancement, we introduced what we called the recurring days, and we have two types of days. We have order days where the order intake is planned, and then delivery days, that are the days where we have deliveries scheduled at the customers. So we will see that in a moment, and everything is, I would say, linked to the shipping agent and service, which is standard Business Central functionality. So we extended that capability to link everything together and to do a setup on the customer. And then we will use that information for an optimized backorder process for the order intake. Once that is done, we will move on to the warehouse part of the demo. So once a sales order is released, we will go over to the warehouse shipments. And we have created in between what we call the inbound and outbound request lines, which are created when the documents are released. And we can use those lines to optimize the creation, for example, of the warehouse shipments, where we can over configuration decide how we want to group and how we want to create the warehouse shipments. An alternative that we added also is if you want to manually create a warehouse shipment, you can go to the warehouse shipment, you can create a new document, and then you can say get lines. And get lines is different from the standard get documents. Over the get lines, you can really select a part of the lines that you want to add on the warehouse document. Once the warehouse document has been released and the pics are created, pics are registered, standard functionality. So there is not that much that we added on that part. Some small details, but that's not the main goal of today. On top of the warehouse shipments, then we have created what we call the transport trips, where we again will group different warehouse shipments, for example. So for the outbound deliveries, we will create a transport trip. That's a combination of a date with a warehouse and then with a sequence. And we will group all deliveries for one day, for one trip on one document. We will see that, how we can manage it, how we can prepare everything. And then we will move over to what we call the mobile client, which is an optimized page for tablets, where you can use a team member license from BC. And the idea is that the driver who is doing the deliveries can use that app to have the information about the deliveries and about registering everything he is doing on the delivery route. So we will see that in a moment. So that's for the intro. I will move on to Business Central. Can you see my Business Central screen now? Okay, so I will maximize it. So first thing that I want to talk about is about the order entry. And what we have created for the order entry in B2B context is the customer order worksheet. You can find it by looking it up over the Tell Me function. The order worksheet is opening and automatically the order date is filled in with the current working date. So today we are Wednesday, 23 of April. So you see that the order date is there already preset. You can change it, but normally the idea is you just open it and you're ready to work. What I see now on the lines is a selection of 3 customers. So these are 3 customers from my company. And if I open the first one over the info box, I see the customer. And when I scroll down to the shipping fast tab, we will see that we have the standard agent code and agent service code. And on top of that, we added some additional fields. So for example, we have a transformation, a transport information that you can set here. The first one is what we call the free info. We will see later on that you can edit that on the sales order if you want to. And the second one is a fix information, which will only be visible on the trip, but you cannot change it anymore. So you have some fixed comments and you have some free comments. And the most important thing is what we call the order delivery schedule. So what I linked to that customer, in this case, it's linked to the customer, but you can also link it to a specific ship to code of that customer. So if the customer has different shipment addresses, you can also do a separate setup for each shipment address. And what I see here, we added a recurring schedule. In this case, it's Wednesday. I just want to open the card to give you an impression. So the schedule card is a card where you can set up a certain recurrency. If you look at it, you will find it very similar to what you know from Outlook. For example, if you have a recurring appointment, it's a similar way that you can set it up. So in our Business Central, we can set up different recurring schedules. I have 3 weekly schedules here, Monday, Thursday, and Wednesday. But for example, I also created a monthly recurring schedule that will happen on a monthly base. For example, it will occur on every first day of the month in this case. There are different options to set recurring schedules up. You can very easily find a way there to pick the right setup that fits your customer. So I now added the 2 recurring schedules to that customer. And the first line I've indicated as my order date. So what does that mean? On Wednesday, I have to call that customer for an order intake. And that's what we have seen just a moment ago on the worksheet. The customer is in the list of the customers that I need to contact today because it's Wednesday today. And the second line is my delivery date. That's Monday. So next Monday will my delivery day. If I click on it, I will also see the next days of that recurring schedule that will be available for planning. So the 28th of April is the next Monday. So keep in mind that date. On this customer, I just made a setup with two recurring schedules, one order day, one delivery day, but you can also have multiple order days and multiple delivery days. That's up to you how you want to set it up. So that's how this list of customer on the worksheet is built up, by looking in the list of customers, looking who has a recurring schedule where the Wednesday 23 of April is an order date. On this list, I will see the necessary info about the customer so that I have the info available to contact the customer and to take the order from him. One specific thing that we see, the second line is in red color. That's just a little feature that was required by some customers. We have the sales calculation value here, so -3 weeks. The -3 weeks is used to calculate if that customer has been ordering items from us in the past 3 weeks. And if I scroll a little bit to the right, we will see that this the result of that is a flow field. And we see that the last one has 4 lines from the last 3 weeks, and the first one has 13 lines, and the second one has no lines. So that means the second one has not ordered anything from us in the last 3 weeks. So we indicate that in red because we want to see that customer is potentially no longer putting orders at your company, but at the competition, for example. The flow field can be clicked, and then you see an overview of the invoice lines linked to that customer. So that's just a little bit of information. How is it working now? So I select the first line, first customer, and I say, okay, I want to create a sales order while I'm on the phone, for example, with the customer. And it's creating a sales order for that specific customer. The document date and the order date is on the 23rd of April. That's today. And what we see over here, the requested delivery day has been calculated. And the requested delivery date has been calculated with the 28th of April, that next Monday. So that was the second setting on the customer where we set the order date is Monday. So it's automatically putting that date into the requested delivery date. I will just add some item on that order to have something on the order. So, and what we will see now is that also on the shipping and billing fast tab, we will see the two transport informations. The second one is fixed. The first one is free. And for example, I can here add some additional info for the driver, for example. On top of that, the agent and service of the shipping agent has been set on the order as we know it. Once the order is completed, we just release the order and we can exit the order. I'm coming back on my worksheet, and what you see is that on the first line, the newly created order has been linked. I can see it, I can navigate to it. And if I want to, I can now use a status code to say, okay, the order has been confirmed, and I can add some info in a comment field. So the idea is that I can go through that list and go one by one, phone the customer and do the order entry on that level. So that was the first part of what we did in planning and dispatch to enhance the order input. One of the most important things here is what we did with the requested shipment date. So it's calculating really what is the next date that we will be able to deliver at that customer. It's taking into account the standard outbound times and shipping times that are already in the system. But you don't need to go and look yourself to set a new delivery date for that order. The requested delivery date is calculated, but you at every moment have the possibility to overrule that. And the best way to overrule it is by using the standard field, the promised delivery date. And then everything will be recalculated again. So I've also released that sales order. And once I release that sales order and I have set it up on the location, I will also create what we call the outbound warehouse request lines. We also have inbound warehouse request lines. That's, for example, for the purchase orders or the sales return orders. And in fact, that's kind of, I would say, a copy of what is on the sales lines. But you also have a link to the source document, and you will see the outgoing documents could be, for example, a sales order, but can also be an outbound transfer order. So if you're shipping something from your main location to an external location or whatever, also the transport for the transfer orders can be organized over this list. If I would have added some info on my sales order, this info is also reachable from this list. So I can also have some communication between the sales department and the planner or the dispatcher that is working on this list. So what we see over here is a list of orders that I have already put in the system. And the last line is the line from my newly created order a few moments ago for the 2 cases of beer. And I can see that all other lines are already on a sales shipment. The last one has not been sent to a warehouse shipment yet, but that will come in a moment. What I want to show is the last part of that list. We have also added a group code on those lines, and we see 2 kinds of group codes. That's the setup that I did. I have a standard group code and I have a transfer code. And the group code, I will go to the setup of that. The group code is something that is configurable, and it's a combination of your location and your source document type. So as you can see, we have complete list of document types of Business Central. So I can create a setup where each type of documents is linked to a group code. So in this case, I made a group code for my sales orders and I made a group code for my transfer orders. And why is it important to have different group codes? Because now I can use a selection of fields to decide how the warehouse shipment will group those lines on the warehouse shipment. So it's completely configurable. It's also explained in the documentation how this is working, but I can set up how the grouping on the warehouse shipment will be working. So that's what I see on my request lines outgoing. I can easily filter then, for example, the lines that need a warehouse shipment. It's just a line that I had a few moments ago. It could be a complete list of lines. And then I have an action to create the warehouse shipments. So I will just create a warehouse shipment. It's only 1 line. It will only be 1 warehouse shipment. But if you have a whole bunch of lines, it will group then on several different warehouse documents, depending on your setup. And I decide also that I want to release the warehouse shipment after the creation of it. Takes a few seconds. So the warehouse shipment has been created and I can directly navigate to the new warehouse shipment. What I see on the warehouse shipment is, I would say, standard, but we added some additional fields on this. And what has already happened is the warehouse shipment has been released automatically by enabling the setting a few moments ago. And once I release a sales shipment, a warehouse shipment, it will look into the list of transport trips and it will select the correct transfer trip for that day, for that shipping agent and that shipping agent service. So here is a list of transport trips that have been created upfront. We have a report for that, and the idea is that you can periodically, every night, for example, create the shipments for the next 2, 3, 4 days, depending on your time frame that you are using in your company to make the preparation, the planning of the trips, the transfer trips. So it designed it automatically depending on the shipment date and your shipping agent code. In the info box, we have the standard item details, but we also had added some fact box about the transport trip. So that's the layer above the warehouse shipments. You can see that on that warehouse trip, it's still the status open, so I can still add additional warehouse shipments. I see the driver name, I see a vehicle license plate and a trailer license plate, and I also see the amount of lines, so the amount of shipments that are added on that transport trip, and the total weight of the entire transport trip. In our setup, we also have a capacity of the vehicle and the trailer, so you can check if you're reaching the maximum capacity for the weight or eventually the volume on that transport trip, so you can see if I can add additional items, yes or no, on that transfer trip. One more thing I wanted to do, just the latest warehouse, I will just create the pick for that warehouse shipment just to show you something. So the pick has been created, but I will not register it. So the next step is the transport trips. So you can have different warehouse shipments for different sales orders, for different transfer orders, so outbound orders. You have different shipping or delivery dates. You have different shipping agent and services, and we are collecting them on one transport trip. Here is the view of the transport trip. So here you can see on which transport trip is what information available. You also see kind of a status. Is it already completely picked? Is it partially picked? Is it ready to be shipped, in fact? So also here I can set some filters, and I've created a filter to release. In my setup here, it's the list of the transport trips that needs to be delivered today and that are not ready released. So you see at the right side, status is still open. So I can open the transport trip to give you an overview. First of all, we have some general info where you see the important trip date and also the shipping agent with the status. Then we see what are the resources involved on that trip. For example, we have a driver, and the driver, in fact, is a resource card that we are using, where you can specify the drivers of the lorries. And we added some transport info also here to indicate it's a driver. It's a driver for a specific shipping agent. And we will see later on, we also have some cash or payment registration. We can indicate the default payment method. You can also, it's optional, create some vehicles, and on the vehicles then you can indicate the maximum volume, maximum weight, which is also shown on the info card of the trip, very similar as with the warehouse shipment. And then the most important thing is the lines on the transfer trip. I see that I have 3 outbound lines, and it corresponds with 3 outbound warehouse shipments. I can navigate very easily to those warehouse shipments. I can already see, okay, are the pick lines created, yes or no, and are the pick lines registered, yes or no. So here I see all lines are completely registered. The pick status is also completely green. So that means that everything has been picked and been prepared for shipping. And on the 3 lines, I see the 3 addresses of that shipment. Also here, I can go to some comments. These are comments added on the warehouse shipment. So that's a way where the warehouse employee can communicate with the dispatcher or the planner. So everything is ready. What can I do? I can print what we call the trip sheet. So I will print the trip sheet for that specific trip. And I will get an overview. And by the way, we are using a Dynavision layout from the Dynavision layout app, where you have possibilities to configure what is on the lines, but this gives a general overview. I see the trip date and so on, and I can also see the different delivery addresses with the corresponding comments or information lines that are specified on the sales order. So you get an overview of the different addresses on your trip. The sequence of the trip can be specified with a trip number. In the app, there is no logic to calculate an optimal route or whatever, but you have external tools for that. For example, we can also create a CSV file. Yes, I first will need to release in a moment. But before I release, I will print the warehouse document. So from the trip, I can also print the entire list. I have 3 stops. So I have 3 different delivery notes for the 3 different addresses. So that's based on the warehouse shipment document, but I can print the delivery note directly from the transfer trip. And then, as mentioned, I can release the planning trip. And of course, then it closes it because the filter has been set. But I want to show something once more. It was this one. So what we can do is we can also send a message. Message is a kind of a technical name for it. I can export an Excel file with a CSV content, and the CSV content is a list of those addresses. And for example, you can use that in the name as the name is telling in Circuit. Circuit is an Android or an iOS app for calculating an optimal route. You can import it there on your smartphone, and it will calculate the optimal route for your delivery. So everything has been prepared and released for the transport. I will now switch my environment, or I will stay in the same environment, but I will enable tablet mode. As you probably know, you can do that by editing the URL. So I'm in tablet mode now. And what we also created for the driver is a specific role center. We call it driver. So I can just switch to the driver use a role center, and I see now that I have one trip on my list. That's the trip that has been released a few moments ago. So the idea of this mobile client page, which you can use with a team member license. So everything that I'm doing here can be done with a team member license. I see my trip is ready, and I just can click on it and I can say, okay, I will start a trip, and this is the trip that I'm starting. Just confirming, and the strip is then opening, and I see the 3 different stops on my trip that are on my list to deliver now. So I know first address, I can put it into my GPS, or I can use the Circuit app and I can start driving to that address. Once I'm arriving, I can click on it. I get a card of that delivery. Just by clicking on arrival, I will register my arrival time at that address. I can also edit it and add some comments from the driver, whatever it will be. In conjunction with our trade app, we also have a possibility to add some. We have a possibility to add some payment lines, so that will reflect back on the sales order, where you can say, okay, I will register a cash payment of 20 euro, for example. And at the end, we have here a JavaScript add-in where the customer can sign off for the receipts, and you just confirm the sign off. And then I say, okay, I've done my work. I will confirm my departure time, and I will go to the next step into my delivery. And so I can continue each time, register, do the delivery, do the signing, and do my departure. So the idea is that the driver can register all the actions that he needs to do. You even get a warning if you don't have the signature of the customer, and then you can do the sign off, and you can say, okay, my trip has been completed. So, and at the end, you can confirm the trip has been completed. If I go now back onto my normal user interface and I go to the transport trips, I will see that the trip has been worked on, and you will see on the lines that the information from the driver and so has been added, arriving, and so on with the comments from the driver. What we decided is that the driver is not doing any posting of shipments and so on. So it's the back office that at the end I can do it interactively, or I can do it with a batch job or whatever. I can now post all the warehouse documents linked to that trip. So everything that has been shipped will now be posted as a post over the warehouse shipment, and everything will be redirected. And I made a mistake somewhere, so I will need to check into the setup why this error is appearing. It's on the latest, on the last line, but it gives you an idea. So the idea is I prepare everything, I send it to the mobile client, the driver can do the registration of the delivery, and then the day after probably you can do the processing of the posting and the invoicing then to that customer. Just checking if I didn't forget anything. No. So back to the presentation, because we are running out of time a little bit. So what we have seen is a high-level overview of the functionalities. I have some enhancements on the sales order intake with the worksheet and with the setup for calculating the dates. We have some warehouse enhancements, mainly for creating the warehouse shipments with a logic that is following your setup. And once that is done, we can collect those warehouse shipments on transport trips, where we have then delivery functionalities for the driver. That's in a nutshell. We have many more features. They are all documented in the documentation. Just one thing I still want to mention before ending. There's even some new functionality since a few weeks in the app, but that would be too, I would say, too much now for putting it in a half an hour of a webinar. We have created what we call the advanced ATP. So ATP is a functionality known to most consultants in BC. We pimped it a little bit. We put in some additional features that you easily can check all the lines of your order, and that then you can select the optimal delivery date for the different items on the order, depending on the availability of the items. And we have a possibility then to what we call create a back order. If some items are really delayed, you can say, okay, I will ship everything I have on the order, and for the delayed items, I will create a back order. So I will create a new order with the back order items on that order, so that you can process them later. There's a much of functionality in here. We just started with that functionality. So the first basic functionality is available in AppSource. At this moment, we are working on some additional features already. We received already some feedback from early adopters. and we are always very eager to hear your feedback and suggestions to improve the app. So that brings us to the end, and I hand over to Jens once more.
Yes, thank you, Bernd, for the demo, and thank you everyone for tuning in today. If you have any questions, as mentioned, you can put them in the Q&A section of the chat, and then we will handle them afterwards. If you want to contact us to become a partner, you can just scan the QR code on the screen, and then contact sales, and then we'll be in touch to discuss a possible partnership. Are there any questions at the moment? I don't see any in the Q&A at the moment. I'll just maybe wait a minute. And if there are no questions, then I guess we can end this webinar. So thank you all for joining in today. I hope you enjoyed the webinar, and if you have any feedback for us or any questions, then don't hesitate to reach out.
Dynavision.